Graham.
Hello. Welcome to Dawgs Central. I am Graham Coffey. I am joined, as always, by my good friend, co-host, and ace producer, Josh Hanser. You may have noticed as we came on air that the graphic was a little bit different than what you're used to seeing, or the graphic in the bottom right corner of your screen may look a little bit different than what you're seeing. We are, I think, both excited to announce that this show is changing names to Dawgs Central.
Not
It
just
will,
changing names, Graham.
well, yes, but that's the first thing we're talking about. Yeah, so the show has changed names. Josh and I are both part of a new project, a new website called dogcentral.com. It's something that I'm really excited about. If you haven't seen maybe as much content from us lately, it's because we've been behind the scenes working on getting this up and running. Josh and I have partnered with a bunch of other really awesome creators in the UGA space to create pretty much a collective, right, of media folks. We've got Lamar and Trey from 100 Sanford. We've got Jason and Dustin from Field Street Forum with some incredible recruiting intel. We have John Tweet Sports. He is, really just a great bulldog and will be appearing on this show with us quite a bit in the future.
He's on Twitter, but brings analysis, and he's not just another pretty face. He knows his stuff. He's lived and breathed Georgia football for a long time, and his insight and analysis will pair so well with what we do here on our breakdown shows for sure. And he's also the brains behind all the website stuff. So
yeah, we would not have a website if it wasn't for John. So that's why he's not here with us right now. He's trying to make sure we launch our website on time. But yeah, super excited to be working with him. If you guys aren't familiar with Field Street Forum, Jason has been over there doing his thing for years and years, somewhat quietly giving some of the best recruiting intel in anywhere in the Georgia space. But maybe not always like kind of as out front with it as some people are, but he is going to be providing a lot of great content for both our subscribers and our non-subscribers who come and stop by. I've read his first few recruiting posts. There's some really juicy nuggets in there. There's a very, very interesting piece of Arch Manning news that no one has reported yet. So really excited to get going with those guys. I'm sorry, go ahead, Josh.
No, I was just saying what you've done and how you've described it is pretty exciting, but I think you're being a little shy. We're not just this is a website from the ground up. It's got a community of people that we want you to join and interact with. It's going to have a bulletin board and forum and all the things that accompany a fan site. It's got analysis. It's got, inside intel. It's going to, Lamar and Trey are going to bring you interviews on their podcast. They're going to write. Jim and John are going to, be talking about the games and all things Georgia sports, and also going to be writing. That's where my stats blog is going to be published. That's where you're going to be writing stories, and we're going to be putting out videos. We're going to be putting out podcasts. We're going to be putting out, data and things. So go to dogcentral.com. It's been a soft opening, as they say, but we want you to be a part of that and not generate content in the sense that we need you to do something, but we want you to interact. We want you to get a chance to chat with us and tell us what you like, tell us what you hear, tell us what you see when you watch the games, and be a part of it, because we want an intelligent community of people respectfully talking Georgia sports and enjoying being around each other and being in a space that sometimes maybe that is lacking in some of the other places that you might interact with folks. So that is one of the core tenets of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's really well put and well described. And I mean, I think that at least for me, like, I started looking around at how I consume sports and specifically Georgia sports, and realizing, like, I I spend all this time bouncing back and forth between different podcasts and, different Twitter personalities. And I, sometimes want to get into some forums, but a lot of times I don't have the experience I'm looking for in those forums because there's a handful of posters that hijack threads or, every topic turns back to we should have kept Justin Fields over Jake Fromm, or why are we starting Stetson Bennett, right?
Or there's inside jokes, or the personalities, like you say, that are so strong in those. And this is, hey, you can get in on the ground floor, and we want to be welcoming and let a lot of people's voices be heard. Or you can just sit there and check it out and laugh at us and wait for Message Board Genius to make fools out of us, which would be great.
Yeah, we'll know we're on the map when that happens. But I think what's also exciting is our software in our forum is very unique and really cutting edge. And John went out and really found us some software that I believe is going to create an experience that no one else is having right now, really, in the college football space, at least that I know of. Users, subscribers that are in our forum will be able to kind of start some of their own content creation if they want to, or follow other users or other folks on the message board that they want to know when that person posts, because they always have really good insight. So it's a very overused term when it comes to internet kind of speak, or website speak, but the reality is we're really trying to build a community. And I think for me, I'm personally really excited because the time where I could have a lot of intelligent discourse with people on Twitter kind of came and went over the last year or so, where it's I might be able to get some good interactions with people and have some really interesting conversations, but I have to scroll through some 16-year-old kid from a rival fan base calling me a cuck or something like that. And so I'm really excited to go to our forum on Dawgs Central and just try to have a mature college football community. That's really how we've talked about it from the start, right?
Absolutely. If you've heard anything about me on Twitter, I've often referred to the community, and I genuinely and have gotten to, I don't know a lot of you by your first names. I know you by your Twitter handle, but I like the friends I've made there. And this is just another spot to come in and talk about Georgia sports or talk about anything really. There's going to be, and this is not with all due respect, a Weebly site. This is not a Squarespace site. This is not a WordPress. This is built from the ground up with legitimate, software that's going to be enjoyable for you to interact with.
Yeah, and I think the other.
But if Squarespace, Weebly, or anybody wants to sponsor us, we can. Hey,
holler at me.
No, John's done a tremendous job, and in fact, exactly right. Graham said it. He's not here with us because he's literally, working, burning the midnight oil to make sure we're live tomorrow. We're actually recording this on Monday night, so this will Tuesday night. Sorry, the holiday threw me off. Yeah. So hopefully you'll see this tomorrow, and then just go right to dawgcentral.com after you watch our show all the way to the end.
Well, yeah, or right now, pause us and go check it out, and then come on back. That's fine too. And I think one thing I really do want to stress, or at least address, we do have a subscriber fee for a lot of these features. I think it's a bargain. It's $6.99 a month if you want to try it out for a month, or you can get 6 months for $33.18. But I think the reason that we're doing that is because a lot of pay sites right now, you get access to one expert or maybe a couple experts, and you're sort of always waiting in line trying to get that person's attention. We have a huge team here, and all of us, I think, have our own expertise. We have brought people on board that are very well sourced and have the ability to get excellent intel out of the UGA program. And so I think that we've really built a well-rounded team where if you have a recruiting question about where Georgia stands with a prospect, Jason and Dustin are going to be able to get you an answer. If you have, questions about what's been happening at practice, we will get you an answer. If you have stat questions, Lord knows Josh will get you an answer. If you want to know where the best spot to tailgate is and what type of booze to drink while you're there, Jim and John with My God a Podcast are going to get you an answer. We've got some actual football coaches that are going to be involved and helping us with X and O's coverage. I'll have in-depth telestrated breakdowns. We will have film breakdowns for all of our, all of UGA's recruiting targets and lots of different, individual players, and just really giving you a full in-depth look at what's happening. And I think the way that we've talked about it as a team since we started fleshing this idea out is give you guys and give ourselves like a holistic experience when it comes to Georgia content, and really a full 360 viewpoint of what's happening, all the way from fan experience to, why this 3-star prospect has a higher ceiling maybe than this 4-star prospect.
We're not going to, I mean, like my stats, and if you want a spreadsheet or some data search, I mean, this is what you're going to be able to get your hands on, or exactly interact with us. We're working on truly trying to be interactive so that we all can share in what we're doing, and you can enjoy it on another level than just kind of tuning in and watching or listening to us in your commute. And of course, we want you to do those things too. So I think it really is something a little bit for everybody and above and beyond. I think your standard sort of website content is what we're striving for, and we're going to get some feedback, and we want to hear from you again. Like Graham said, this is a community, and we want you to be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is your website, so to speak, just as much as it is ours, and we want you to help kind of shape the direction and the vision of where we go in the future. I guess, the last thing that I feel like is important to say is, there will remain a free version of this show that exists out there, and you guys will be able to get your hands on stuff that we do, but there will also be lots of things that we do on this show. I think particularly on the film breakdown side of stuff, or some of the really deep dives on stats that Josh does. Some of that stuff will also go behind the paywall, and there will be some subscriber only content coming out of this show. A lot of you guys, the reason that we have the ability to start this website is because of y'all and the support that you've given us over the last year, 2 years, and really encouraging us when we were kind of fiddling around and had no idea what we're doing. And so just thank you to all of you who have kind of helped us build this show and build a following to where this is something that's feasible for us. But we really hope that you will join us in this Dawgs Central kind of universe, because not only are you going to get a lot more kind of like specifically curated content, you can come and request a play breakdown on a certain play for me, that type of stuff. But you're also going to get, I think, a lot of great information from everyone involved with this. So we're super excited, and we hope you'll join us.
That's awesome, Graham. Dawgscentral.com, and it's live right now. So congratulations, Graham. You and John and everyone has done a great job, and I know you're proud and excited, and we're off on a great big adventure here. And with that, we're gonna break into some talking some news today on Twitter, or yesterday. Circa Sports released championship odds. Now, if you're not familiar with Circa Sports, I don't actually gamble a lot. I love talking numbers. I certainly look at some of the sports and some of the stats through betting and lines and totals and win totals and all that sort of stuff. So and Graham definitely is a better 60% against the spread last year. But Circa Sports is like sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's widely known as from the professional sports bettors as the best sports book. I mean, if you go,
they're the earliest usually with lines. I mean, that's the big thing. And so they're the ones that set, that put out lines earliest. So they kind of set the market for everybody else. But also, like, if you're someone like me that's looking for value, right? Like, Circa is a place where you're often going to kind of find that because they may release a line at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday afternoon that maybe isn't as sharp, or definitely isn't as sharp as what that line is going to be by, Wednesday morning. Right. And so I've made a habit of, being in a legal betting state out here. I've made a habit of trying to, jump on certain things with those guys as soon as they release that week's lines on Sunday afternoon, because that's where you're finding value. Yeah.
So they released some championship odds. We've seen a lot of the early first week lines. I mean, I know that I think Georgia moved to plus 17 or plus 17.5 today versus Oregon. So that line. So this is kind of fun thing to watch as you go, and you can gauge sort of as the betting experts and the people that do this for a living sort of kind of move that line. It's pretty fascinating. But today, the conference championship odds came out, and they've got all the power. Is there only 4 of them on here? Yeah. Who are we missing? The Big Ten is not on my sheet.
They're not on there.
They're not on there. All right. So it's Pac-12, SEC, ACC, Big 12. And I think if anyone that follows college football, certainly anybody watching a college football show in June, can probably pick the favorites in each conference. But it's USC, Alabama, Clemson, and Oklahoma are the Circa Sports favorites to win those championships. Now, this is money you can put down. It's not just a random number that they're putting out there. You can go bet these.
Yeah, you can bet it.
Yeah. USC is plus 230. Actually, USC and Utah are actually odds on there. 234 plus 234 on both of those teams. Oregon right
very behind. Random number.
Yeah, it might come out at like some weird. I mean, might come out as a fractional odd or percentage things.
I'm sure there's a reason for it. Yeah.
And then what is that?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, so I mean, like, let's talk about this a little bit because I want to talk a little bit about sort of like where if I was making these odds, so to speak, like where I may have done things differently. Now, I'm not like an odds maker. I did go 110, 70, and 2 against the spread last college football season, but I'm not an odds maker. But I do think there's like some glaring spots. I think it's important when we talk about betting odds, especially this far out, right? Like, really, in a lot of cases, odds like this are designed to get people to lay like equal money on both sides in most cases, right? And so, like, this is often more so a reflection of how the public is viewing a team, maybe than how Vegas is viewing a team in certain instances. Like, over under win totals and how those are juiced and where they are is something we'll talk about as this offseason goes along. But like, I think sometimes there you maybe get a little bit more accurate picture of, where Vegas is actually kind of truly seeing a team. But when it comes to like some of these conference title odds, like, I really can't get USC being, co-favored in the Pac-12.
They got a lot of talent and somewhat of a favorable schedule.
They don't. All right. So here's my take on USC is that, like, you're right. They do have a lot of talent. It's flashy. It's sexy. But I was on the Chase Thomas podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to him about this. Like, I think that there is an epidemic in the summertime in terms of how we talk about and view college football around overvaluing skill talent and undervaluing defensive and offensive line play. And I think at the end of the day, like, USC had to structure its spring game in a pretty weird way because they didn't have enough offensive lines, just enough guys, enough bodies on the offensive line to like field a normal scrimmage. And I think Jordan Addison is great. Caleb Williams is great. We think he's really good. He was really good as a first-year player. But I just don't know how much time Caleb Williams is going to have to get the ball to all of those skill players. And I also did find a stat of Caleb Williams being actually the longest average time to throw of any quarterback in the FBS last year, with over, I think, like 150 dropbacks, which that concerns me as well when you're talking about offensive line issues. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I think those are valid points. I mean, I don't think they're slightly ahead of Oregon, which is the team third with the third best odds at plus 315, and then it kind of falls off the map. So I mean, I think it's a three horse race there. Utah won last year, and they're just a good program that's going to play solid football. Actually, the blog post or this article that I wrote for Dawgs Central that's going to drop tomorrow has talking about returning production. Now, what you're going to see in that blog post is it's strictly looking at the playoff teams and how they got to the playoffs. So it talks about returning production and also looks at it through the prisms of what they returned. So it's like Georgia Tech in 2020 returned 90-something% of their offense, but it was the worst offense in FBS.
90% garbage is still 90%, garbage.
Exactly right. But and also you look at the majority, the average of those teams, the playoff teams is, returning, 60% of their roster each year. So the elite teams have turnover every single year. So just because if you look at, USC that's returning a lot of talent, or Utah that's returning a lot of talent, and I pointed out on Twitter today, Arizona State is I think 74%, but they've obviously had some attrition since Bill Connolly put out those numbers and stuff. So it's like what are you bringing back? And I think that's what's got people about USC excited. I think that team, it's kind of like Georgia. They've been down. They're a blue blood team that has not been in the mix in a number of years. So you're right. I think the public is anxiously waiting for that team to arrive, much like Notre Dame has in the last four years under former coach Brian Kelly. So I definitely think that there is public interest in seeing them on top and getting some of that money on there. Utah being, plus 234, exactly the same odds of USC. It's going to be interesting to see where those numbers settle in. Also, when you're talking about betting, to back it up just a little bit, think about that. You've got to put money down and you've got to sit on it till early December. So that's another factor. You know what I mean? So like if you bet, $50 on USC to win at 234, and then the odds open, seasons, at the beginning of the season at plus, 200, you're actually losing value at that point. So you got to think about, the professional bettors out there think of it as almost like investments and trading.
It is.
And so like, think about, it's fun to put, a nickel on the Dogs to win it all in February, but that's fun to do as a recreational bettor. But it's just one of those things, as you learn how the numbers play into it, they're trying to sit on your money. They've got your money in their hand. And where that number opens up as, will be curious. Now, look, if USC opens at plus 150, you've got value there. I don't think it's going to move that much, but and I was talking about Arizona State, and you can tell me where I'm wrong, because like I said, Arizona State's bringing back 70%. I think probably be some amendments there once we get into the summer camp, but they were 1.3 yards per play net, offense, defense, offense minus defense yards last year. They had a 49% success rate on offense, and they allowed a sub 40% success rate on defense. I was like, why is there, and their win total is like 5.5, and they're at plus 4,000. So I'm just curious. I know that there's a reason for that, because I'm not smarter than Circa.
Well, I mean, I think the big reason is Jaden Daniels, their quarterback, transferred to LSU. But I think their best wide receiver just transferred to Florida a couple weeks ago. They got in trouble during COVID for having a bunch of recruits on campus that technically weren't supposed to be there because everything was in a dead period, and some former staffer released a dossier. That was the word that the NCAA used to the NCAA. And so Herm Edwards is pretty much a sitting duck, and everyone thinks he's, going to get fired. And so I guess a lot of the talent has jumped ship. Now, that all could be reasons why everyone is undervaluing them as well, though, in terms of like being like, well, all this external stuff is going on, and maybe looking at that too heavily instead of what's going on in the field. But I would think with a lot of the with Daniels leaving and some of those receivers leaving, I'm pretty sure that they'll have a pretty big drop in that returning production category by the time we get to September.
Well, one thing you look at returning production, if you go back and read, especially when he was at SB Nation, Bill Connelly talks about that. He says, that just because you lose your quarterback, somebody's going to throw the ball and somebody's going to catch the ball, and the correlation is something along the 45 to 50%. So someone's going to catch the ball, and someone's going to throw the ball, and that's obviously when you lose Jay Daniels like that, that definitely will impact you, but it's not going to completely crater. So I don't think there's value, and I'm not going to tell you to put any kind of money on Arizona State to win the Pac-12, but it is be interesting to see where that number moves. Maybe they sneak up and have an upset early in the year, because a team that's got a 50%, nearly as 50% success rate on offense and a sub 40 on defense, they've got some coaches there, and it'll be interesting to see there. And that win total, maybe you look at that win total at 5.5 last I checked. So that's what I kind of saw in the Pac-12. It's funny, we're Dawgs Central, and we're talking about the Pac-12. You want to move on to any of the other conferences? Anything to jump out at you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I Oregon State, I think, is a good value there. I mean, they've just been turning in the right direction for a while, and they get a lot back. I mean, I think they're in the 30s nationally in returning production. They have not seen a bunch, they haven't had any sort of transfer exodus that I'm aware of. Jonathan Smith is a good coach. He's made them a very kind of efficient offensive football team. I think, like, really, that what you're looking at there is, I just think that Pac-12 North is going to be in transition. Washington and Washington State both have new coaches. Stanford has struggled for a while. Cal has struggled for a while. You look at sort of that whole situation. I think that division, that North division, is probably going to come down to Oregon and Oregon State in that Civil War. I don't, as good as Dan Lanning is recruiting right now for Oregon, that was a team that wasn't very explosive on offense. They may have some quarterback issues of their own. They lose a lot on the offensive line. I don't know if they're going to be super explosive offensively. I think that, like, if you can score some points, then you can hang in a game with them. So, I mean, I think if you're looking for value on a long shot pick, like, of all these conferences, I kind of like Oregon State the best. Just
quick look up
3,500.
They're 36 overall, but they're returning 78% of their defense, and that can be a good recipe to make some noise in the Pac-12. There's only one team in these four that is a minus number, which forgive me if I'm explaining this, but when you see a minus number, that means how much money you have to bet to win $100. So, and if there's a plus number, you win that amount if you bet $100. So we were talking about USC's plus 234. You bet 100, you win $234. Alabama is minus 130, which means you got to bet $130 to win 100. So you're giving up some odds there. So they have the highest odds of any of these teams we're looking at right now. And Georgia is at plus 143. So, and after that, this is interesting. After that, it kind of falls off a cliff, according to Circa Sports, with
the SEC,
yeah, $2,150. $100 wins you $2,100 if Texas A&M can win it all. That kind of is opposite what we were talking about USC, because certainly A&M has been in the news a lot and has certainly amassed a lot of talent this offseason. Now, true freshmen don't necessarily go and win you a national championship, but that jumps out at you big time. I know our friend Chris Marler on Twitter said there was value in that. Do you see value at that?
No, and I'll tell you why. And it's because A&M, I think, until I see Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, who, he's been there, 4 seasons now? Am I right about that?
Yeah, at least,
yeah. So in that entire time, he's never once been ranked outside of the, 100 and lower in pass explosiveness or pace of play as an offense at Texas A&M. I think Jimbo Fisher is married to an offensive system that was super effective at Florida State in the early 2010s when he had a generational defense, right, that was filled with NFL studs, and he was playing in a really weak ACC. But I don't think that's going to get it done against the Alabamas or the Georgias of the world right now. Hell, it didn't get it done against Ole Miss last year, right? So I just think, or lame duck at Orgeron's LSU, right? Like I think I just need to see A&M have like a double-digit win season in a non-COVID year before I'm gonna buy into A&M as a conference championship contender. As those recruits mature, that's probably going to happen, right? But like, I still think that offense is like everyone talks about Kirby Smart's offensive management or talked about Kirby Smart's offensive management, but the reality is like A&M is still kind of stuck a little bit behind offensively and leaving a lot of things on the field that should be like easy yards and easy plays. So, I mean, I don't think there's really much value outside of Alabama and Georgia when we talk about actually winning the conference title in the SEC, and I think those numbers reflect it. I do think it's interesting, like looking at, just in terms of looking at like some teams that are ranked maybe differently than I think they should be. Seeing Auburn all the way down there and basically 12th place, I think that might be a little low. I think that they still have, despite all of the like coaching chaos, I still think they have the guts of a good football team. I also think LSU that's still like a top 5, top 7 roster when you talk about talent composite rankings and just the stars and recruits it's made out of. I think that like we saw Brian Kelly do a lot with not superb amounts of talent at Notre Dame. I'm very interested to see sort of what happens down there because he's got Jaden Daniels and he's got a big stud young quarterback and Walker Howard and there's just enough guy. Like I think he's going to find a quarterback amongst the guys that are around on campus. And I don't know, LSU just never seems to lack for skill talent. So we'll see if they can play defense. They haven't been able to the last couple seasons, but
what's interesting is I just did this calculations in there and I was pretty close to it in my head. So if you plus 100 is a 50-50 bet. So you're taking 2150. That's basically a percentage. They're giving A&M a 4.4 chance of winning the SEC. And Auburn is less than 1% chance to win the SEC. So that's kind of gives you, but yeah. So if you think of a plus 100 as a 50-50 chance, that's, you can start to kind of calculate those.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I could be talked into scattering a little money underneath there. Just, weird things can happen. Down
on who?
I mean, at those odds, I mean, I would take A&M. I mean, Kentucky, they're not going to win. I don't know.
Are they going to win the East? Really? Yeah. I mean,
well, I think they got to win it all. This is not just win your division too. So, but it is.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I mean, like $10 to win, 250 or something. That's pretty good. So, but in the
it's cheap entertainment.
Yeah, cheap entertainment. Yeah, if you're in Vegas for a convention this summer, go to Circa, please. Go to Circa. And just check it out.
Find a second team. Yeah.
ACC, Clemson is the odds-on favorite. Was that a little surprising to you? I mean, I guess they're the most talented. And
I think like until the defense is still going to be really good, but like going back and watching the film of their spring game, I did not see any improvement from DJU.
They've been talking about the incoming freshman that could possibly compete, right?
Yeah, and he like looks okay, but he's still dude, true freshman. That's tough, right? Like I do think that they actually will have a little more competition than they have in some past years. Like I think Miami's going to be legit. I think Miami's going to go in and beat Texas A&M in week 3. In College Station. And, Tyler Van Dyke was as good as any quarterback in the country once he took over for De'Aaron King last year. Like, we know he's really good, and we know that Mario Cristobal is pretty good at like shoring up line of scrimmage play and getting good production out of his offensive and defensive fronts. So I think that we very well could see a scenario there with Miami. I mean, plus 475 is not great value, but it's still pretty good value. Like, because I think if I had to pick a conference title winner right now, I would pick Miami. So if I feel like they're the favorite and, you know, a $100 bet is winning me $475, that's a good place to be.
All right, on Twitter, you talked about another team down there from your home state,
NC State.
Yeah, a lot of buzz around. House, yeah, a lot of buzz around the Wolfpack.
I mean, that's what scares me is the buzz, because like NC State,
we had North Carolina buzz last year.
Yeah, we had UNC buzz. We saw that. You know, that went up like a fart in the wind week 1 in Blacksburg when they let Sam Howell get sacked 11 times. That offensive line coach may have relocated this summer. I don't know. But I think like looking at NC State, Devin Leary, really good quarterback. They've got some pieces around them. It's just, I know that NC State beat Clemson last year, but I guess the question I have to ask myself is like, do I trust NC State to go on the road and beat Clemson with that defensive front in Death Valley for a second year in a row? And the answer right now is no, just because I think Clemson can keep pretty much everyone on this list, everyone in the conference except for Miami, like to the 20 to 24 point mark, or the, you know, even below that. And I don't think their offense is going to be any good, but I think they'll be decent enough to take advantage of good field position and have some turnovers and that type of stuff. So I think it's a decent flyer, but I mean, if I had to pick between NC State at plus 1,000 or Oregon State at plus 3,500 to put a flyer on, I would go with Oregon State, just because I don't think there's that top tier elite team in the Pac-12. And I think that like Miami or Clemson could be like, you know, college football playoff contender. And so it's hard for me to imagine NC State being a college football playoff contender, but like, can I imagine Oregon State being like a top 20 team? Yeah, I can imagine that.
Just looking at some of these numbers you're going to see in my post tomorrow. NC State returning overall 75% of offensive production, 88% of defense, 6.1 yards per play offensively last year, and under 5. You really want to be under 4.7 to be considered, but there's room for improvement, and you can see it getting done with returning a lot. And so they're
what were they, like 1.2?
Yeah, 1.1. Yeah, 1.16. So normally I round up there, but for some reason I go 2 decimals, so you got it right. 1.2 is a number. That's a window there that you can jump up to 1.5, 1.7 net yards per play and make some noise. And when, you know, at any given Saturday night and late in Charlotte, they can get it done. And so I kind of like that. I like that at 10 to 1. I like that bet.
I do too.
And I think they've got an easier road to get, you know, Oregon is going to, I guess you were talking about Oregon State, but Oregon's obviously opening up with Georgia. So we're going to find out about Oregon pretty quick. And it's
that doesn't affect them in their conference.
No, true. That's very true. That's a good point. So yeah, it's an excellent point. Out of conference, you know, you can still win your conference with 3 losses. So, hit some of this. Big 12, last one, Oklahoma and Texas. So the odds on at plus 205, 225, Baylor at plus 500 something. So yet again, another 3-horse race. Got any feelings about, I don't like the Oklahoma as a first-year coach as an odds-on favorite, to be honest. You know, Sarkisian's got his second year, got a lot of talent.
I don't buy it. I don't believe in Sark. I'm not putting money on Texas to do anything good until I see him do it.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like it's just a waste of money. You know, that's like, I think Texas is on the way. It's a similar situation to USC, in my opinion. Lots of skill talent. Can they play defense, and can they protect the quarterback and, you know, do enough to do enough on the offensive line to allow that skill talent to be explosive. And I just don't know the answer to that. But
how about
Oklahoma's a feast or famine team in my mind. I think that like Dylan Gabriel is good. We know he's a good quarterback. There are still pieces there. God knows that Lincoln Riley recruited tons of wide receivers to Oklahoma. Brent Venables, I think you can trust he's gonna have you playing fundamentally sound defense, which is something we haven't seen Oklahoma do in decades, it seems like. So I don't know. I could see it, but I think like the Baylor's just kind of sitting there hanging out. They won it last year. I think Aranda just like kind of knows how to SEC the shit out of everything. And what I mean by that is he's going to get really good defensive line play that's going to disrupt everything. And he's going to, have a consistent running game, and they'll kind of figure it out and create big plays to the air, maybe with some sort of like broken plays and some opportunities. So I don't know. I think like that might be where I would point.
Yeah. Just looking at those numbers,
dollars.
Venables is bringing back an experienced defense, returning 88% on defense. So maybe he leans on that. What about
any good?
Let me see. I mean, no, 5.7 yards per play last year. So not good, Bob. How about our friend JT Daniels at West Virginia? Plus 5,000.
Hey. Plus 5,000.
I mean, they're
I guess.
I'm just
I mean, I don't know. I think like they're trying to do the kind of Texas Tech air raid tree offense up there in West Virginia. I mean, that offense has been anemic ever since Neil Brown showed up. I think like Big 12 is always like a good chaos league because
Baylor, Oklahoma State.
It's like, I feel like there's not really, outside of Oklahoma over the last decade, we just really haven't seen anybody that's like been super strong in any given year. And, even those Oklahoma teams, just kind of the style of football they played left them susceptible to being beaten. And so if West Virginia like starts running the air raid and it clicks, then I could see them having a nice season, but I feel like it's a stretch to think of them winning a conference title.
I think there's a lot of hype going back to Texas. I think there's a lot of hype about Quinn Ewers. He reclassified last year. So he's a young sophomore, who played a couple snaps for Ohio State last year. They got Bijan Robinson, who's probably the most electric running back in the league.
He's great.
But I highlighted this on Twitter on Sunday. A lot of your high explosive running backs don't return that the next year. And it's, I don't think it's anything like the NFL where you get a lot of carries, but it's hard to replicate a big year at the running back position. Okay. So before we move on, you got $50 or $100, make the numbers easy. Who's your bet on? You got one bet? You still sticking with Oregon State?
If like we're talking just like value.
Yeah, value.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? You got $100 right now. Which one of these is going to have more value when toe meets leather than it does right now? Meaning that these odds are going to go down. So Oregon State at plus 3,500. If I gave you $100 and it goes off at 3,000, you got value there already.
I think. I think Miami goes down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
that's a good one.
I think that Baylor and Oklahoma probably both go down. Like I think that I don't know. I think it depends. I
think Texas A&M goes down. I think if you see public money, which one of the I think misconception is that public money moves numbers. It doesn't, but I can see a lot of money going in on Texas A&M with that value and that number going down.
You know what? I think the other one that could, I will almost guarantee you that this will go down would be LSU at plus 7,000.
Good call. All right, so the coaches are meeting in Destin this week. There's a lot of noise still kicking around, beating the news cycle of Jimbo versus
Saban, Jimbo.
Nick. Yeah, but there's been a lot of scheduling talk and people reading tea leaves, and coaches are putting out sound bites. But it's clear there's enough smoke. There's a fire there, and that with the expanding of the conference, we're going to see a new type of schedule. What have you heard? I mean, tell us, bring me up to date. I've been following a little bit, but what do you want to see if you were commissioner? Is that a good way to start it?
Well, I think it's tough, right? Like, I think as a fan, the question that you have to ask, like, Georgia is in a unique position, right? I think if you went down the list of SEC schools, almost all of them, fans are getting a more entertaining slate of college football every season if the league goes to 9 SEC games. However, Georgia went out and scheduled Oklahoma, Texas, while those guys are coming into the league, but like Ohio State, UCLA, like there's a lot of out of conference games. Florida State, Clemson. There's a lot of out of conference games over the next decade that are going to be really fun, and most of them are home and homes, which is great because that's how they should be. So I think it's tough because I think that Georgia did that with the anticipation of the SEC remaining at 8 games a year, and probably also did it with the expectation that the college football playoff was going to expand at some point, which unfortunately probably still will. But I don't know. You look at
I'm gonna get some pearls that I can just clutch when we talk about it. Just oh man.
Why? So that game between Georgia and Clemson doesn't matter. That'll be fun.
We got to save some content for another show. So
I know. We won't get on this one, but yeah. I mean, I think it's tough, right? Like, because at the end of the day, the really interesting part of all this is the 2 models. It seems like, at least reportedly, the league is down to is a 3-team. If they were to go 9 league games, you would have 3 permanent opponents and 6 rotating opponents, which would be pretty cool because you would play a lot more teams.
So I guess here's a question for you. What is a rivalry? Okay, so Auburn and
that's the problem.
Yeah, Auburn and Florida was a rivalry for a long time. It went away. People miss it, but the league went on. And so Georgia and Auburn seems to be a rivalry, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, but certainly the one you would protect would be Florida. It is the whole one that.
Well, would it be though? Is it? I mean, if you were to go to the 8-game model with 1 permanent opponent and 7 rotating, do you protect Florida?
That's a good question.
Do you keep the Deep South's oldest rivalry? I mean, I guess Auburn and Alabama have to play, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've been told all our adult lives and before that Tennessee and Alabama have to play. So, that is absolutely that's absolutely not a rivalry. Tennessee Vanderbilt's not a rivalry.
Well, it was a rivalry until Tennessee hasn't won a game in that series since the iPhone was invented.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, the league is being reinvented, so I think we have to reinvent and what is a rivalry. And that's a great question. Well, right now, I'm subject to change. I would protect Florida because until it's a home and home, I think it's special. As long as it's in Jacksonville and it's a neutral site game and it's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, that is a tradition in itself, and I think that's worth protecting. I would absolutely hate not to play Auburn every year, but you made me say one, and that's what I would do.
Part of me feels like I don't know that. I mean, like Auburn and Georgia is trending in much the same direction of Tennessee, Alabama, right? Like where it's not really that competitive anymore. It hasn't been over the last 15 years, really. I think Georgia.
It's not near the Alabama Tennessee uncompetitiveness, but yeah, you're right. We've had a good run in the last 15 years on Auburn.
And Georgia's 12-3 over the last 15 years.
Yeah,
I mean they're not undefeated, but like the last 3 times Auburn's beaten Georgia, 2 of them they played for a national title, one of them they played for an SEC title and lost to Georgia again. That's pretty, kind of dominant. But I guess Auburn has at least had those moments over the last decade and a half. But I don't know, for Georgia, like there was a point in time where Georgia played Ole Miss permanently from the West Division. And that wasn't any good, right? Like, so I think what's really, like, there's a lot of these rivalries where it's a rivalry to one school and it's not a rivalry to others. South Carolina, at least within the conference, outside of Clemson, considers Georgia to be their biggest rival. I think Georgia fans would put South Carolina somewhere down the list below Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, and
that's probably
maybe they're fourth in the pecking order, right? But
and that's what makes the SEC great. Every game matters. You can't sit there and when it's South Carolina week, not tell me that it doesn't matter. I mean, you're just juiced up for it, and I think that's important to realize that these rivalries and these teams, the more competitive they are, we need to see more of them. We need to face more A&M, and I think, and I also think that the way that we choose the team, for now, the two teams playing in the SEC championship has to be obviously it's going to have to be rethought.
It'll just be the two highest winning percentages.
Is it winning percentages or
it will not be divisions?
No, but I'm saying or will it be playoff rankings?
No, it'll be records with head-to-head tiebreakers.
Yeah, because I've heard that the playoff rankings being a factor in that as well. But I mean,
maybe it's like the fifth tiebreaker? I don't know.
But I mean, do we see it? Do we see a 4-team SEC playoff? I mean, like if you were the commissioner, would you entertain it?
Nah, not yet. I mean, when like Florida State and Clemson and UNC and UVA join in 2032, then at that point I'd do it.
You heard it, breaking sources.
There you go. I think though, like when you look at some of this stuff, maybe there are some of these rivalries. Like as great as Georgia and Auburn has been historically, doesn't it maybe if you only play each other every other year, doesn't it make it just like maybe that much more exciting?
Yeah, good point.
You play, I don't know, like, but there are a lot of games where I'm like, I don't know if I want to go through a college football season without watching LSU and Florida play because that's just like always a chaos game that's super entertaining. Auburn LSU is like that. I don't know. There's just some of these like
there's
plus Texas and Texas A&M have to play. So if you only have one,
I would disagree with that. They don't have to play because
they have to.
I understand the importance.
Stop.
But I mean,
stop. They have to play. They have to play.
Well, they choose
so tired of it.
But
what I'm saying is like, then do you not play Oklahoma and Texas every year? Apparently, you don't. So,
yeah,
I guess
everything's
really tough.
With as much money as on the table or being around, everything's on the table because they played the damn Rose Bowl in Arlington, Texas. So I mean, like let's not.
But that was during,
It's just an example. It's not. But I'm just saying, like, but the Rose Bowl said they swore they never move their kickoff time and they never did this, and they'll do it when there's money involved. So that's where we are. Is that this is that the media or media rights are going to drive some of this decision, not all of them. And the commissioner will definitely factor in, the importance of rivalry and all, and in playing, in-state teams and whatnot. But the SEC made a power move, and they've got to make some power decisions.
Yeah. I don't know. I think at the end of the day,
I would love to see more teams and rotate.
Kentucky, I do too.
Kentucky, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and if it's Auburn or whatever.
I mean, either one of these models could do that, but like, I mean, let's say there's a scenario. I mean, I don't know. It's like it would be very interesting. Like, what do you think the fever pitch? If you think Georgia and Alabama is a rivalry right now, think about what it would be like if they played every other year, and then maybe played. They may rematch every other year as well. Like, just think about how that would play out with where those two programs are right now. If they were playing every other season and the conference title game.
Everything's I mean, that's cyclical. You know what I mean? Because in the 90s, I don't think Florida would have considered us a rivalry because they were killing us. And now, you know, the tables have turned a little bit. So
well, sure, but I mean,
like if Alabama hires,
you're playing everybody every other year.
No,
like,
yeah, I love that.
That is way different than what's happening right now.
And for the players, you know, you're going to get maybe 2 years if you stay 4 to get a chance to beat Florida. Imagine that. Imagine you're a 3-year player and you get one. You know, you realistically get one shot to beat Florida. I mean, you talk about what that matters. It should matter to somebody playing.
It probably won't because NIL is what's going to matter, buddy.
All right. We got to say some.
Those guys are going to be resting for the 32-team college football playoff, man.
I'm getting some pearls. Oh, God. All right. Well, we've been on here an hour. Anything else you want to say to anybody that stuck it out?
Yeah. Go to dawgcentral.com. Please come interact with us. Check it out. Play around. 1 month for $6.99. 6 months for $33.18. I really think that we have something special happening. I think this model that we have and the people that we have involved in this, you guys are going to be really excited. And I think you guys are going to get a ton of value for $6.99. I mean, like, I think that number is going to go up over time. This is as cheap as it will probably ever be. So lock that rate in now and keep it there forever. But for real, like, come hang out with us because we're doing some special stuff, and we've got some things that we will be reporting on and some information that we'll be sharing that I think are, you know, pretty big pieces of news that you're not going to find anywhere else. So
I love it.
And see us.
Great job, Graham. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Stop.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Yeah, we're in it together. So with that,
we've been together from the beginning.
Dawgcentral.com. Check us out. By the time you see this, my first stats post talking about offensive returning metrics should be up, and along with some other content from the guys, and hopefully some ladies eventually will be contributing as well. So
we got one that's work coming.
Yes. All right. I'm going to take us out of here with that. And we'll see you very soon. Not as long a break this time. We promise.
We'll see you on the forum at dawgcentral.com.